She found a wounded horse. Then a bleeding giant said her brother had sent him. Most days, she helped her parents with the farm, tending to the small garden, feeding the chickens, and collecting firewood. Her father worked long hours in the fields, and her mother spent most of her time cooking, sewing, and taking care of the younger children. Alina was the eldest, and though life was full of chores, she loved it in her own quiet way. She loved the animals, the plants, and the feeling of the earth beneath her hands. One crisp morning, Alina woke before sunrise, as she often did. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and orange, and the birds were already singing their morning songs. She stretched, feeling the cool air on her face, and decided to take a short walk before beginning her daily chores. There was a path she often took through the woods, but today, for some reason, she felt drawn to a less familiar trail, a narrow, winding path that led deeper into the forest. The trees there were taller, older, and their thick branches created a canopy that let in only slivers of sunlight. The forest smelled of earth, moss, and wildflowers, and Alina felt a quiet excitement in her chest as she stepped onto the path. As she walked, she listened carefully to the sounds of the forest. The wind rustled the leaves, a woodpecker tapped at a distant tree, and a small stream gurgled somewhere to her left. Everything seemed calm, almost too calm, as if the forest were holding its breath. After walking for nearly an hour, Alina noticed something unusual. Among the fallen leaves and scattered branches, she saw a movement, a sudden flicker of brown and white. Curious and a little cautious, she moved closer. To her shock, she found a horse lying on the ground, half hidden under some branches. The horse was enormous, taller than any she had ever seen, with a strong, muscular body. But it was wounded. Its front leg was bent at an unnatural angle, and deep cuts streaked its flanks. Blood had darkened its fur, and the horse struggled to move, whinnying softly in pain. Alina's heart leaped into her throat. She had cared for animals all her life, but she had never seen one so badly hurt. Her first instinct was fear, but it quickly turned into compassion. She knelt beside the animal and whispered softly, hoping to calm it. "Oh, you poor thing," she murmured. "Don't worry, I'll help you. I won't let anything happen to you." The horse looked at her with wide, frightened eyes, and she felt an odd connection. It was almost as if the animal recognized her kindness and trusted her, even in its pain. Alina quickly examined the horse, though she knew she was not a trained healer. She gathered herbs she had learned about from her mother, plants that could help stop bleeding and reduce pain. She worked quickly, wrapping cloth around the horse's leg, cleaning the cuts and murmuring soothing words. The horse shivered, but it did not resist. Alina felt a strange mix of relief and worry. She knew that without proper help, the horse might not survive the night. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Alina realized she had to find help. Carrying the horse herself was impossible. It was far too heavy. She thought of the village, of the people who might know how to treat such injuries, but the forest was deep, and the journey back would be dangerous. Still, she refused to give up. Sitting beside the horse, she tried to think of a plan. She spoke softly, "Just hold on. Someone will come. I won't leave you here." Time passed slowly, and as the shadows grew longer, Alina heard a strange sound in the distance. At first it was faint, a rustling like branches breaking under heavy footsteps. She stood, listening carefully, her heart beating fast. The sound grew closer, and soon she realized it was not a person but something much larger. Her pulse quickened with fear, yet curiosity kept her rooted to the spot. From behind the trees, a figure emerged, tall, broad, and covered in shadows. Alina took a cautious step back. The figure came closer, and she could see that it was a man, but unlike any man she had seen before. He was enormous, towering over her, with broad shoulders and hands larger than her head. His clothes were torn, and his face and body were streaked with blood. Alina's first reaction was to run, but something in his eyes stopped her. There was no malice there, only exhaustion and pain. "Please," the giant said in a low, hoarse voice. "Don't be afraid. I was sent by your brother." Alina froze. Her brother. He had been gone for months, leaving the village without explanation. She had missed him terribly, worried for his safety every day. "My brother," she whispered. What do you mean?" The giant's voice was steady despite his injuries. "He asked me to find you. He knew you would help. You are the only one who can." Alina felt a mix of disbelief, fear, and hope. Could it really be true? Why would her brother send a giant to the forest? And why was the horse here? She glanced down at the animal, which seemed calmer now, almost as if it understood that help had arrived. Taking a deep breath, Alina made a decision. She would help this giant and the horse. She could not ignore her brother's message, even if it seemed impossible. Over the next few hours, Alina worked carefully to tend both the horse and the giant. She used the herbs to clean his wounds and gave him water. The giant's gratitude was quiet but deep, and in his presence, Alina felt a strange sense of safety, as if the forest itself were watching over them. She learned that the giant's journey had been difficult and dangerous, that he had faced attacks and nearly lost his life protecting someone important, her brother. Night began to fall, and the forest became darker, colder. The giant warned Alina that danger might still be near, but she was determined. She built a small fire, careful to keep it low, and stayed close to the horse and the giant, speaking softly to them, telling them stories of the village and of the days she had spent waiting for her brother. The horse's breathing grew steady, and the giant rested, though he remained alert. As the stars appeared in the sky, Alina felt a strange mix of wonder and anxiety. The events of the day were beyond anything she had ever imagined. She thought of her brother and the message that had reached her through this wounded giant. She realized that her life had changed in a single afternoon. She was no longer just a girl helping on a farm. She had become part of something bigger, something mysterious and important. Before she fell asleep, Alina whispered a promise to herself, to her brother, to the horse, and even to the giant. "I will help you. I will not let anything happen to you. We will face whatever comes together." And as she drifted into a light sleep, the forest around her seemed to breathe with her, holding its secrets, waiting for the journey that was about to begin. The horse nickered softly, the giant murmured in his sleep, and Alina felt a courage growing inside her that she had never known before. She knew that the next days would be difficult, that danger would come, and that her world would change forever, but she also knew that she was ready. From that moment on, nothing would ever be the same for Alina. The quiet village, the simple life, and the peaceful forest were still there, but a new adventure had begun, one that would test her heart, her mind, and her courage in ways she could never have imagined. And in that dark, quiet forest, among the stars and the whispers of the trees, a bond was forming between a girl, a wounded horse, and a giant sent by her missing brother, a bond that would shape all their destinies. The next morning, Alina woke to the soft chirping of birds and the faint golden light filtering through the trees. She felt the cool forest air on her face and turned to see the giant slowly stirring beside the fire. His injuries seemed less severe than she had feared, though his clothes were still torn and bloodied. The horse stood nearby, its leg wrapped in the cloth she had applied, and it nickered softly as if greeting her. Alina approached the giant cautiously. "Are you feeling any better?" she asked. He nodded, though with some difficulty. "The herbs helped. Thank you, Alina. You are braver than I expected." Alina smiled, though a knot of worry remained in her chest. "I need to know, why is my brother involved in all of this? And why did he send you here?" The giant took a deep breath, his broad shoulders rising and falling. "Your brother discovered something important and dangerous. He learned that there is a hidden world, a place where creatures like this horse live, creatures stronger, wiser, and older than humans. But danger threatens them and your village as well. Your brother foresaw that only you could help protect what is most precious. He sent me to find you because he knew you have the courage and the heart to do what must be done." Alina listened, her heart pounding. She had always suspected her brother had a life beyond the village, but she had never imagined anything like this. "A hidden world," she repeated, trying to understand. "And you say this horse is part of it?" The giant nodded. "Yes, this horse is not ordinary. It carries knowledge and strength that can protect both your brother and your people. But enemies are pursuing him, enemies who will stop at nothing to capture him and take what he protects." Alina felt a shiver run down her spine. The idea of danger so close, so real, made her pulse quicken. Yet beneath the fear, a spark of determination ignited. She could not abandon her brother, and she could not ignore the horse, which now nuzzled her hand as if sensing her resolve. "I'll help," she said finally. "Tell me what I need to do." The giant studied her for a long moment as if measuring her courage. Then he spoke, his voice steady. "First, you must be ready. The journey will be difficult. The attackers are ruthless and the forest is full of obstacles. You must trust your instincts and act quickly. Your brother depended on you, and now it is your turn to protect him and this horse." Alina swallowed hard, her mind racing. She had always felt brave, but the task before her was unlike anything she had faced. She thought of her brother, and that thought gave her courage. She would not fail him. As the morning passed, Alina helped the giant mount the horse carefully. The animal's strength was astonishing, and it seemed to understand its rider's pain, moving gently to avoid worsening the injuries. Alina walked beside them, leading the horse and giant through the dense forest. The path was uneven, with roots twisting like snakes beneath her feet and rocks hidden beneath layers of leaves. She had to concentrate on every step, her senses alert for any sign of danger. The giant began to speak, telling her stories of his journey and the battles he had faced to protect her brother. He spoke of shadowy figures that had chased him through forests and across rivers, and of powerful creatures that had aided him along the way. Alina listened, fascinated and horrified, imagining her brother in the midst of such danger. The giant's tales were frightening, yet they also inspired confidence in her. If he could survive such challenges, perhaps they could succeed together. Hours passed, and the forest began to change. The trees grew taller and closer together, forming a natural barrier that blocked most of the sunlight. Strange sounds echoed between the trunks, the calls of animals Alina had never seen, the rustle of leaves as if something large moved nearby. The giant warned her to stay close and keep quiet. "These woods are not empty," he said. "We are being watched, and some things will not hesitate to attack if they sense weakness." Alina's heart raced, but she followed his advice carefully. She whispered words of encouragement to the horse, whose eyes reflected both intelligence and trust. Despite the fear, she felt a growing bond with both creatures. It was as if they understood each other without words, connected by shared purpose and trust. As they moved deeper into the forest, the giant suddenly stopped. He raised a hand, signaling Alina to do the same. From behind a thick curtain of trees, two figures emerged, humans, dressed in dark clothes and carrying weapons. Their eyes were sharp, and their expressions were filled with malice. Alina felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. The attackers were closer than she had imagined. The giant stepped protectively in front of Alina, and the horse tensed, ready to bolt if necessary. The attackers spoke, their voices harsh and demanding. "Step aside," one of them said. "We want the horse. Give it to us and no one will be harmed." Alina's fear surged, but she remembered the giant's words and her brother's trust. She could not let them take the horse. Thinking quickly, she grabbed a small branch and swung it toward the attackers, startling them long enough for the giant to move. With his immense strength, he blocked the attackers' advance, giving Alina and the horse a chance to escape. They ran through the forest, the horse galloping with surprising speed despite its wounds. Alina clung to the reins, guiding it carefully, her muscles straining with effort. Behind them, the attackers shouted and pursued, but the forest itself seemed to aid Alina. Branches snagged at the pursuers, roots tripped them, and shadows hid their path. Slowly, they began to lose their pursuers. After what felt like hours, the trio reached a small clearing by a stream. The giant helped Alina and the horse rest, and she could finally take a deep breath. The fear and adrenaline left her trembling, but a sense of relief and accomplishment followed. She had faced danger and survived. She had protected the horse and herself, and she had taken the first step toward finding her brother. The giant turned to her, his expression serious but kind. "You did well," he said. "Not many could have faced them and kept the horse safe. Your brother would be proud." Alina felt a surge of pride, but also a new sense of responsibility. She understood now that the journey ahead would not be easy. The attackers would not give up, and the forest held many more dangers. Yet she also felt a growing confidence, a belief in her own abilities and her connection to the giant and the horse. That night, as they rested by the stream, Alina thought about her brother and the message that had reached her through this strange, wounded giant. She realized that everything had changed in the past 24 hours. The quiet life of the village, the simple chores, and the familiar faces of her neighbors were still there, but they seemed distant now. Her world had expanded beyond the hills and forests she had always known. She had become part of a larger story, one filled with courage, danger, and hope. Alina carefully cleaned and bandaged the horse's wounds again, whispering soothing words. The giant watched her silently, his eyes filled with respect. "You have a rare gift," he said quietly. "You have the heart to care, the mind to plan, and the courage to act. Your brother chose wisely." Alina smiled faintly, feeling the warmth of trust and friendship. She had always loved animals, but now she understood that courage and compassion were just as important. The bond between her, the horse, and the giant was growing stronger, and she could sense that it would be crucial for the challenges ahead. As the stars appeared in the night sky, the forest quieted around them. Alina lay on a bed of soft leaves, the horse resting nearby and the giant keeping watch. She felt a mixture of exhaustion, excitement, and anticipation. The journey to find her brother and protect the horse was only beginning, and she knew that danger, mystery, and adventure awaited them. Yet for the first time, she felt ready. In the silence of the forest, Alina whispered to herself, to the horse, and even to the giant, "We will face this together. We will protect what is important, and we will find my brother no matter what it takes." The horse nickered softly, the giant murmured in agreement, and Alina closed her eyes, feeling the strength and determination growing inside her. The path ahead would be long and dangerous, but she had taken the first step. She was no longer just a girl in a small village. She was a protector, a friend, and a sister ready to face the unknown. And in that moment, under the quiet watch of the stars and the whispering trees, Alina knew that the adventure of a lifetime had truly begun. The next morning, Alina awoke to the soft murmur of the stream nearby. The horse was grazing gently, its eyes alert yet calm, and the giant was already on his feet, stretching his massive limbs. Alina felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The events of the past day had changed everything, and she knew the journey ahead would test her in ways she had never imagined. She approached the giant cautiously. "Where do we go now?" she asked, brushing a stray leaf from her hair. The giant looked down at her with a serious expression. "Your brother is farther into the forest, in a place few have ever seen. He has been captured by those who want to harm the horse and the knowledge it carries. We must reach him before it is too late." Alina nodded, determination shining in her eyes. The fear she had felt earlier had not disappeared, but it had been replaced by a burning resolve. She was no longer a girl wandering through familiar woods. She was part of something larger, something urgent, and she would not turn back. As they set off, the forest grew denser. The trees were ancient and towering, their branches twisting together to form a natural ceiling that blocked much of the sunlight. Shadows moved mysteriously across the path, and Alina often paused, listening carefully for the smallest sound. The horse moved with surprising grace, despite its previous injuries, and the giant walked beside Alina, guiding her whenever the path became treacherous. Hours passed, and the giant began to speak, sharing more of what he knew about her brother's mission. "Your brother discovered a world hidden from ordinary eyes," he said. "It is a place where creatures of incredible strength and wisdom live. Some of them are allies, some are not. But there is a secret your brother found, something that can protect your village and those who dwell here from great harm." Alina listened intently, her mind racing with questions. "What kind of secret?" she asked. The giant shook his head. "I cannot reveal everything yet. It is dangerous if the wrong people know. But you must understand this. The horse carries part of that secret. Protecting it is protecting your brother, your village, and even the forest itself." Alina glanced at the horse, which nuzzled her hand gently. A shiver ran through her. She could feel that the horse was more than just an animal. It was intelligent, almost as if it understood every word she said. She wondered what her brother had discovered, and why he had trusted her with such an important task. As they continued, they encountered signs that others had been in the forest recently: broken branches, footprints in the soft earth, and the remnants of a small campfire. Alina's heart pounded. The attackers were still near, and she realized that every step forward could bring them into danger. The giant noticed her worry. "Stay close," he said, his deep voice steady and reassuring. "Fear is natural, but courage is what will keep us alive. Trust yourself and trust the horse. It will guide us as much as we guide it." Alina took a deep breath and nodded. She focused on the horse, feeling its warmth and strength beneath her hand. Somehow, the connection between them gave her confidence. She was not alone. She had allies she could trust. As the sun climbed higher, the forest opened into a wide meadow. The grass was tall and dotted with wildflowers, and a small stream ran through it, glimmering in the sunlight. Alina allowed herself a brief moment of relief. Perhaps they could rest here, regroup, and prepare for the next stage of their journey. But the peace did not last long. Suddenly, from the edge of the meadow, a group of figures emerged. This time there were more than before, humans with determined eyes, carrying weapons and moving swiftly through the tall grass. Alina's pulse quickened, and she felt a cold wave of fear. The giant stepped forward, positioning himself between Alina and the attackers. "Do not move," he warned, his voice carrying across the meadow. "We do not wish to fight, but we will if necessary." The attackers stopped, their eyes fixed on the giant and the horse. One of them spoke harshly. "The horse belongs to us. Give it to us and we may spare you." Alina's heart raced. She could not allow the horse to be taken. She remembered the giant's words, her brother's trust, and the responsibility that now rested on her shoulders. Thinking quickly, she scanned the meadow and spotted a narrow path leading to a grove of trees on the far side. If they could reach it, the dense forest might give them cover. "Follow me," she shouted to the giant and the horse. The horse moved swiftly, responding to her guidance, and the giant followed, protecting them from any immediate threat. Alina felt a surge of exhilaration as they dashed across the meadow. The attackers pursued them, but the horse's speed and agility allowed them to gain distance quickly. By the time they reached the grove, the attackers were struggling to keep up, and the thick trees soon hid them from view. Breathing heavily, Alina collapsed against a tree, her heart still racing from the chase. The giant knelt beside her. "Well done," he said. "You kept your courage and you kept the horse safe. That is what matters." Alina smiled faintly, her mind still spinning. She had faced danger directly and survived. She had learned that fear could be managed and courage could be found even in the most terrifying situations. She felt stronger, more capable, and more connected to the horse and the giant than ever before. As they rested, the giant shared more about her brother. "He knew the risks," he said quietly. He knew that danger would come and that it might take more than one person to survive. That is why he sent me to find you. He believed in your heart, Alina, and that belief has brought us here safely so far. Alina felt a lump in her throat. She had always admired her brother, but she had never realized how much he had trusted her, even from afar. The thought gave her strength. She would not let him down. She would see this through, no matter what it took. The afternoon passed slowly as they continued their journey through the forest. The horse moved steadily, its strength returning with each step, and the giant remained vigilant, scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. Alina felt a deep connection to both of them, a bond forged through trust, shared danger, and the need to protect something greater than themselves. As evening approached, the forest grew darker. Shadows lengthened and the sounds of the forest changed. Night creatures began to stir, and the forest seemed alive in a way Alina had never noticed before. She felt a mix of awe and caution. The forest was beautiful, but it was also unpredictable, and she knew they would need all their wits to navigate it safely. The giant suggested they make camp near a small clearing. Alina helped gather firewood and prepare a simple meal, grateful for the brief moment of normalcy. As they sat by the fire, Alina thought about the journey ahead. They had already faced danger, but the most difficult challenges were still to come. She felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and determination. That night, as Alina lay on a bed of soft leaves, the horse resting nearby, and the giant keeping watch, she reflected on all she had learned. She had discovered courage she did not know she possessed, and she had formed bonds with two extraordinary beings who trusted her completely. She realized that the journey was not just about finding her brother or protecting the horse. It was also about discovering her own strength, resilience, and heart. Alina whispered to herself, to the horse, and even to the giant, "We will succeed. We will protect what matters, and we will find my brother. Together, we can face anything." The horse nickered softly, as if agreeing with her words, and the giant's deep voice murmured a quiet acknowledgement. Alina closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the fire, the strength of her companions, and the growing confidence within herself. She knew the journey ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face it. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Alina drifted into a light sleep, dreaming of the challenges to come. She could feel the forest around them, alive with secrets, and she knew that every step forward would bring them closer to her brother and to the answers they sought. In that quiet, dark forest, Alina understood that her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a girl from a small village. She was a protector, a friend, and a sister determined to face whatever dangers lay ahead. And in that moment, under the watchful eyes of the stars and the gentle whispers of the forest, a new chapter of her life had begun, a chapter filled with courage, mystery, and hope. Morning came slowly in the forest. The sunlight filtered through the thick canopy, casting golden streaks across the clearing where Alina, the giant, and the horse had slept. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of pine and damp earth, but the quiet beauty of the forest did little to calm Alina's mind. She knew that the most difficult part of the journey was still ahead. Her brother was somewhere out there, and time was not on their side. Alina rose carefully, stretching her stiff muscles. The horse, now fully recovered from its previous injuries, nickered softly as she approached. It had grown stronger each day, and Alina noticed its intelligence more clearly now. It seemed almost aware of the dangers around them, and its eyes followed her every move. The giant had already begun preparing for the day's journey. He checked the horse's leg and the supplies they carried, making sure everything was secure. Alina helped him gather a small pack of food, water, and herbs. As she did, she asked the question that had been on her mind since the night before. "Giant, do you really think we'll find my brother? And what will we do if we do?" He looked down at her, his expression serious. "We will find him," he said firmly. "And when we do, we must be ready for anything." The people who captured him are dangerous, and they will not hesitate to act. That is why your courage is so important. You will be needed in ways you cannot yet imagine." Alina nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She had always been brave in small ways, tending to animals and helping her family, but this was different. The lives of her brother, the horse, and even the giant depended on her decisions and actions. They set off at a steady pace, following a narrow path that twisted through dense forest. The giant led, clearing the way and watching for signs of danger. Alina walked beside the horse, holding the reins loosely, letting it guide them through tricky terrain. She marveled at the horse's strength and agility. Even when the path became steep and rocky, it moved carefully and confidently, as if it knew exactly where to step. Hours passed, and the forest seemed to grow darker, almost as if it were closing in around them. The giant warned Alina to stay alert. "These woods are not like the ones near your village," he said. "They hold creatures and dangers that are unusual. Keep your eyes and ears open." Alina's heart pounded as they moved forward. She had already faced attackers before, but she knew there could be more ahead. She focused on the horse, feeling its steady rhythm and strength. Somehow, being close to it gave her courage. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. As they rounded a bend in the path, they stumbled upon a hidden clearing. In the center stood a small, sparkling pool of water, surrounded by stones and wildflowers. The sunlight reflected off the water's surface, creating a magical, almost otherworldly glow. Alina paused, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. Perhaps this was a place where they could rest briefly before continuing. The giant agreed, and they allowed the horse to drink from the pool. Alina took a moment to examine the surroundings. She noticed signs that others had been there recently: broken twigs, footprints, and the faint smell of smoke. Her heart tightened. They were getting closer to her brother, she realized, and with that, the sense of urgency grew stronger. As they rested, the giant shared more about what had happened to her brother. "He was captured by a group who wants the horse and the secret it carries," he said. "They know he found something powerful, and they believe that by controlling it, they can gain strength and influence. But your brother is clever and resourceful. He has planned for this, and he knew someone like you could help." Alina listened, absorbing every word. She thought of her brother, imagining him trapped, waiting for her. The thought filled her with determination. She would not fail him. After a short rest, they continued. The path became rougher, with steep hills and fallen trees blocking their way. The giant helped Alina climb over obstacles and guided the horse carefully. Alina felt a growing sense of connection with both of them. The journey was difficult, but together they moved as a team, each relying on the other's strength, skill, and trust. As the afternoon sun began to fade, they reached a dense part of the forest where the trees grew closer together, their branches intertwining like a natural barrier. The giant signaled Alina to be quiet and stay close. He explained that this part of the forest was home to creatures that were neither friendly nor predictable. They would need to move carefully to avoid attracting attention. Alina followed silently, her senses heightened. She noticed every sound: the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, the distant call of an animal. The horse moved cautiously, its ears flicking at every small noise. Alina realized that the forest was alive in ways she had never imagined. It was beautiful, but it demanded respect and attention. Suddenly, they heard a noise, a low, growling sound that echoed through the trees. The horse froze, its muscles tense, and Alina's heart raced. From behind a thick cluster of bushes, a creature emerged. It was large and wolf-like, with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Alina felt fear grip her, but the giant stepped forward, raising his hands in a protective stance. "Stay calm," he whispered to Alina. "Do not make sudden movements." The creature growled again, but instead of attacking, it circled them cautiously, as if testing their intentions. Alina held her breath, her mind racing. She remembered the giant's words, "Trust instincts, remain calm and act wisely." Slowly she extended a hand toward the horse, letting it feel her calm energy. The horse nickered softly, and the creature seemed to sense their unity. After a tense moment, it turned and disappeared back into the forest. Alina exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The encounter had been frightening, but it had also taught her the importance of remaining calm and thinking clearly. She realized that courage was not just about strength, it was about intelligence, patience, and trust. Night began to fall, and the forest grew darker. The giant suggested they make camp near a small, sheltered grove. Alina helped gather firewood and prepared a small fire, careful to keep it low and hidden. They ate a simple meal, sharing quiet conversation and planning the next stage of their journey. Alina felt a sense of teamwork and trust growing stronger between them. As they rested, Alina thought about the challenges they had faced so far and the ones that still lay ahead. She knew that finding her brother would not be easy. The attackers were relentless, and the forest held many dangers. Yet she also felt a growing confidence in herself. She had faced fear, protected the horse, and trusted her instincts. She was learning to be brave in ways she had never known. Before going to sleep, Alina took a moment to speak to the horse and the giant. "We are in this together," she said softly. "No matter what comes, we will face it as a team. We will find my brother and keep each other safe." The horse nickered in response, and the giant nodded silently. Alina felt a sense of calm and determination. She knew the journey would be long and difficult, but she was ready. The forest around them seemed to listen, holding its secrets and mysteries, but Alina was no longer afraid. She had courage, allies, and a mission that gave her purpose. That night, as she lay beneath the stars, Alina reflected on all she had learned. She had discovered her own strength, the power of trust and connection, and the importance of courage in the face of danger. She realized that the journey was not just about finding her brother, it was about discovering who she truly was. With the horse resting nearby and the giant keeping watch, Alina closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of friendship, trust, and determination. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them. She was no longer just a girl from a small village. She was a protector, a guide, and a sister determined to succeed. And in the quiet, dark forest, beneath the soft glow of the stars, Alina understood that her life had changed forever. The journey was far from over, but she had the courage, the heart, and the allies to face whatever lay ahead. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Alina rose, her mind focused on one thought: today they would find her brother. The forest around them was quiet, but she knew that danger was still near. The giant had kept watch throughout the night, and the horse had rested peacefully, its strength returning fully. Alina felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety as they prepared to continue. "Are you ready?" the giant asked, his deep voice calm but serious. Alina nodded, tightening the straps on the horse's pack. "Yes, let's find him." The path led them deeper into the forest, where the trees were so thick that sunlight barely touched the ground. The giant moved ahead, carefully scanning for any signs of danger, while Alina followed closely, guiding the horse through the uneven terrain. The silence of the forest was heavy, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or distant bird call. Every step brought them closer to her brother and closer to potential danger. Hours passed, and the forest opened into a small valley. There, surrounded by rocky cliffs, was a fortress built from dark stones. Smoke curled from a narrow chimney, and guards patrolled the walls. Alina's heart leapt. This was where her brother was being held. She felt fear, but it was mixed with determination. She would not allow him to suffer alone. The giant lowered his voice. "We must be careful. The fortress is heavily guarded and the people inside are dangerous. But there is a hidden path through the rocks. If we move quickly and quietly, we can reach your brother without being seen." Alina nodded, her hands steady despite her racing heart. She followed the giant and the horse along a narrow, winding path that hugged the cliffside. Every step required concentration. One wrong move and they could fall or be discovered. The horse moved cautiously, trusting Alina's guidance, and the giant stayed close, shielding her from sight whenever a guard came too near. After what felt like hours, they reached a small entrance hidden behind a cluster of rocks. The giant gestured for Alina to stay back. "I will go first," he whispered. "Once inside, you and the horse must follow quietly." Alina nodded, her pulse quickening. The giant disappeared into the shadows, moving with surprising speed and silence for someone of his size. Alina followed carefully, guiding the horse behind her. The fortress was dark and cold inside, and the faint light from torches flickered along the stone walls. Suddenly they heard a voice, familiar, weak, but unmistakable. "Alina!" Alina's heart leapt. She hurried toward the voice and found her brother tied to a wooden post in a small, dimly lit room. His clothes were torn and he looked exhausted, but he was alive. "Brother!" Alina cried, rushing to untie him. He smiled faintly. "Alina, you came. I knew you would." Before they could speak further, the sound of footsteps echoed in the corridor. Guards were approaching. The giant stepped forward, his massive form blocking the entrance. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice low but firm. Alina's brother watched as the giant moved with incredible strength and precision, silently taking down the guards without causing unnecessary harm. The horse stood nearby, ready to help if needed. Alina realized that the bond between the three of them, her, the giant, and the horse, was now stronger than ever. Together they could face anything. Once the immediate danger passed, Alina helped her brother to his feet. "We need to get out of here," she said. "The attackers may return." Her brother nodded, leaning on her for support. "I trust you," he said. "You've grown so strong, braver than I ever imagined." The giant led them back along the hidden path, guiding them carefully past guards and traps. The horse moved swiftly, carrying supplies and helping them navigate the rocky terrain. Alina felt a sense of pride and relief. They had found her brother, and together they were escaping the fortress safely. As they emerged from the forest, the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees. Alina looked around, taking in the beauty of the world outside the fortress. She realized how much she had grown during this journey. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and she had discovered courage, strength, and determination she never knew she had. Her brother turned to her, a smile spreading across his face. "You saved me," he said, "and you saved the horse. I knew I could count on you." Alina smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. "We saved each other," she said, "together." The horse nuzzled her hand, and the giant gave a quiet nod of approval. Alina felt a warm glow of connection and trust. The journey had been difficult, but it had brought them closer and strengthened the bond between them. Over the next few days, they traveled back to their village, moving carefully to avoid any remaining threats. The horse regained full strength. The giant healed from his injuries, and Alina's brother regained his energy. Along the way, Alina reflected on all she had learned. Courage was not just about facing danger. It was about caring for others, making difficult decisions, and trusting yourself and your allies. When they finally returned to the village, they were greeted with astonishment and relief. Her family embraced her brother, and the villagers marveled at the giant and the horse. Alina felt a mixture of pride and humility. She had grown from a quiet, helpful girl into a brave, determined protector. Her brother spoke to the villagers, explaining the importance of protecting the horse and the hidden knowledge it carried. Alina listened, knowing that their journey was not just about survival. It was about understanding, trust, and the courage to face the unknown. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Alina stood with the horse and the giant, watching the golden light filter through the trees. She felt a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. The journey had been dangerous, frightening, and uncertain, but it had also been filled with lessons, friendships, and discoveries about herself and the world around her. The giant turned to her, his voice gentle. "You have done well, Elena. You have shown courage, wisdom, and heart. Your brother entrusted you with a great responsibility and you have fulfilled it." Elena smiled, feeling the truth of his words. "I couldn't have done it alone," she said. "We all did this together, the horse, you and me." The horse nickered softly, as if agreeing, and Elena reached out to stroke its mane. She realized that this journey had changed her forever. She was no longer just a girl from a small village. She was a protector, a sister, and a friend who had faced the unknown and emerged stronger. As night fell, Elena and her brother sat by the fire, sharing stories of the journey and the lessons they had learned. The giant kept watch, and the horse rested nearby, its presence calm and reassuring. Elena felt a sense of gratitude and connection that she had never experienced before. In the quiet of the night, Elena whispered to herself, to her brother, and to the horse, "We faced danger, we overcame fear, and we protected what matters. And now, we will continue together." The stars shone brightly above, and Elena felt a deep sense of hope for the future. The forest, the journey, and the challenges had tested her, but they had also taught her about courage, trust, and the power of connection. She knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with bravery, heart, and determination. And so, in the quiet night, surrounded by the friends and allies she had gained through courage and trust, Elena realized that the adventure of a lifetime had changed her forever. The forest, the horse, and the giant had been part of her journey, but the greatest discovery was herself, the courage, heart, and determination that would guide her for the rest of her life.